Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the official release of the Emax Freestyle Tinyhawk. It's out, it's 2S, and I have to say my first impressions of this quad was that it flew extremely smooth. The tune is really amazing, and the next thing that I noticed was the power to weight ratio. It's like 10 to 1 right here. It is through the roof power, acceleration, the punch out is amazing. The control when I'm coming back around from those big maneuvers are completely spot on. And I have to say that the durability rating on this quad right out of the gate is like 5 out of 5. The props that are on here, these are the Avon 2-inch props. They're tri-blade. And I haven't been a big fan of these before, but on this combination with the 2S power setup with the 1S 450 in parallel, it's just the perfect setup for durability and power to weight ratio, flying, everything is all good about this quad. And before I even get started with talking about the quad's characteristics even further, I have to say that this is probably one of the best flying little micro freestyle quads I've ever had my hands on. And that is a no hype, honest to goodness opinion about this quad. I've enjoyed flying this one mainly because of the power to weight ratio, the lightweight, and the batteries are cheap. So the 1S 450, get a pile of them because you're probably going to want like 30 batteries to keep this thing going all day. It is extremely fun to fly. But first, let's do a little bit of a spec check on this quad. Let me show you it on the bench, and I'll show you what's on here. I'll show you this cool little white carbon frame, then we'll go out and do some FPV, and I'll give you my final score, which is going to be quite high. So here we go.
Now the case looks very similar to the original Tinyhawk case, and the quad fits inside with the props on, which is really nice. It's the Stormtrooper white carbon frame on here. It has 2.0 connector, around 7 to 4.5 minutes flight time, depending on which battery you fly. And what's in the box? Well, two 450 milliamp batteries, some stickers. You get that USB charger up to 6 batteries at once, and the Avon Rush 2.5 props here. Unibody X style frame, which is super sweet. 115 millimeter wheelbase, and a flat top with 4 bolts for easy access. That's kind of nice. The unibody on the bottom has white and dual struts on the bottom, and reinforcement in the center as well, which I like. It has plenty of protection up front, 600 TVLC MOS camera, and protection on top and bottom, which is pretty important. Up top, I love that it has the 4-bolt easy access for getting to your stack. Just those 4 bolts, top plate off, super easy to work on. So let's look at the stack here. What do we have going on? It's one layer, it's all dampened front and back, which is kind of nice. It has 25 milliwatt VTX with smart audio. It has an F4 FC with 5 amp BLHeli ESCs, and soldered on motor wires, which I really like. So no disconnecting with those plug and play motor connectors. We have the bind button on the very bottom, and we have Emax 1103 motors, and those are 7,000 kV, so plenty of power and punch out. We have push on props. You can use the bolts if you want to, because it does have threading. 3 motor bolts on the bottom with bumpers protecting the edges of the motors, and we have that PH 2.0 connector there for 1 or 2S. We have a dampened camera mount. You can see the grommet right there. And before you fly yours, you definitely want to tighten all the bolts on your frame to make sure that your bolts don't fly off during flight. Now, the dry weigh-in is at 50 grams, and with the 2S 450 on there, we have 76.4 grams total takeoff weight. And here's a comparison of the old Tinyhawk and the new one, and the Freestyle in the middle. So they're very similar, but let's go ahead and charge some batteries real quick. Let me show you how that works out. It's pretty simple. You don't have any way to change the power output. It is going to be strictly, I believe it's going to be around 1 amp charge rate or less. The lights are going to be green when charging, and when the light's out, it's going to mean that it's all done and you're good to go. And the original Tinyhawk batteries are compatible with the new Freestyle, which is nice. And let's go ahead and take a look at Beta Flight while we're at it. Just a little tip for you guys. It is an SPI receiver, so you do need to be in Frsky D, and you have to be in D8 mode. And here's a look at my PIDs with the super rates at 80. And we're running Beta Flight 4.0 on here with the Maytag 411RX, and you can see that at the very top of the screen as well for the new guys in the crowd. But this quad is looking pretty good, so let's go ahead outside now. Let me show you some flying, and we'll do some commentary on how it flies. Alright, let's go ahead and get it up for the line of sight flight test. And you guys are seeing it flying on 2S, two 450s on board, and it's really snappy and responsive. Almost too responsive for me. And I put it down. Yeah, okay. So we're back up again, no problems, because it is really lightweight. You're probably not going to break anything on this in the grass. If you do fly it over concrete, you're going to get some, you can expect some chips and dents and things like that. But even in the most urban environments that I flew mine, I didn't have any problems breaking it. So I'm going to show you a combination of both. Let's go ahead now and do some FPV, and I'll show you what's up with this quad. Okay, let's go ahead and do the FPV flight test now with the Tinyhawk Freestyle, and we're in an abandoned parking lot right here, and it looks like they're getting ready to do some construction, but they don't mind if I fly here because this quad is so small and so quiet that no one really cares. A guy pulled up and he asked me what I was doing. I showed him the quad and he drove off. No problems. He was just checking on his trucks. But one thing that I noticed right away was that the maneuverability of this quad is crazy. The power to weight is awesome because it feels like a whoop without that washout problem that we've had in the past with having ducks on the quad. So this quad has no ducks on here, and you can see it freestyles, it power loops. It holds a nice straight line when I'm doing things, and this guy was super stoked about FPV, probably going to go look this video up. And the flight times are quite long. I was getting, man, well over 5 minutes with the 2S setup, around 450 to 5 minutes. If you fly it on 1S and you're just cruising, Emax is claiming that you can get 7 minutes on this quad. So you can see that flicker right there. Now we just did a little mini punch out. Just a little bit of flicker behind the trees with the 25 milliwatt. You will notice that. But you can get pretty far out on 25 milliwatt. We're going to test that also in this video. I'm going to take you to a big open field where there is some trees in the way, and we're going to take it out maybe a couple football fields out and see how far I can really push this 25 milliwatt. But proximity is awesome. Look at that power loop back down to the ground. Another power loop. No problem with the power loops. Plenty of power. It even feels like a little mini 5-inch quad. I mean, look at the punch out. It's crazy. I still can't get over the punch out of this quad. The 1103 motors are perfect on here. And I've been talking about this for years. 1103s with this type of power combo is nothing new. The 2S 1103 combo is probably one of the best setups you can possibly get in the world for micro brushless. And that's on all types of different frames at this weight class. Doing a little bit of exploring now. Low to the ground, slow, flying, exploring. It is really nice to just slow way down. Look at this. I almost feel like I have prop guards on this little baby. I'm literally dropping my voltage right now to the bottom of the barrel. So now I got a new battery in, and I'm going to do a little kind of tree exploring here. Normally I do this with a tiny whoop with prop guards, but I got lucky and made it through there even without prop guards because it slows down so much. Now we're out in that big open field, and let me show you how fast this quad goes. Let me show you how the 25 milliwatt performs out in the really thick little Christmas tree farm out here. Got some little mini Christmas trees growing, but look at that snap and roll rate. Really nice snap and roll rate. It feels really locked in. I can't even explain how fun this quad is to fly to you until you actually flown it yourself. And we're not trying to hype it up or anything like that. It just honestly flies awesome. You can really get in close to things. You can really get in there and fly close and fast. And here's a little kind of altitude test on 25 milliwatt. That's not bad. I'm several hundred feet up above this field. We're at a little AMA sanctioned flying field. Beautiful day to fly this quad. If I can make some comments on the camera, I'd say that this camera is probably not as good as something like a Runcam Nano. Again. But it's not bad for the weight. And with this type of quad, what we're trying to do is reduce all the weight we can. You can add a different camera on there, but there's not a whole lot of room on this frame to be able to do that, so you might be pushing it. Plus you're going to add a lot more weight to it. The best way to fly this quad is stock how Emax has done this. With the PID profiles on here that the Emax team has created for you, you have a lot of choice with this quad as far as the durability, the performance. What you can really get away with this quad is kind of crazy, because you can take this quad out there. If you're a beginner, you can practice those freestyle maneuvers that you see all the hot guys doing without the big consequences that a 5-inch quad would have. And the other thing is that this is not going to kill anybody. This little quad is fairly safe, even though it doesn't have prop guards. I wouldn't want to get hit with it, but I have hit myself with similar weight class quads. Even up to a 3-inch quad, I've gotten hit in the leg with a 3-inch. It doesn't feel good, but it's not going to kill me. And there's that 25 milliwatt flipping up a little bit again. You can't claim that that is perfect. It does not like to be in the thick trees and brush with stuff between you and your video transmitter. That's just about any transmitter, unless you're running, honestly, about 800 milliwatt. Even still, sometimes you have breakup. But it can handle itself in even some of the biggest maneuvers. Really nice flying quad. And there, I almost lost all video right there for some reason. I don't know. There's a cell tower over here on the right hand side of this field, so that might be contributing to some of our breakup. It's way over on the other side of that field, just beyond that tree line. Plenty of hang time. And it's so small that when you fly across the field, you feel like you're flying long range with this quad. It's so tiny. There's an example again. I can slow it way down and just get really in there. I'm less than a foot off the ground right there. And back in to explore these trees. Just something like a tiny whoop. Lost video there for a second again because of those Christmas trees. But they are pretty thick. They will cut out your video signal, even with really high dB antenna on your goggles. But I have to say, again, this might be one of the best flying freestyle tiny, super tiny micros that I have flown. With this amount of speed, the durability, the tune on here, and the frame itself, I really, if you could break this frame, I would be impressed, because the lighter they are, the harder they are to break. Sounds kind of strange. That 2mm carbon bottom plate is like the beginner's best friend with all that reinforcement. Dual struts on each arm. And dampened flight controller. I think all of the dampening that they have in here with the camera, the flight controller, everything is dampened. It just makes it really, really smooth flying. So I'm really happy with where this quad is. This is the kind of quad that I would take on a trip as my micro of choice. I would fly this safely just about anywhere on our trips. So in my opinion, honestly, if you're going to ask me, you know, in the comments down below, like which Tinyhawk should I buy? I'm a beginner. Should I start off with the Tinyhawk? I would say go with this one, because this quad is set up for the ultimate beginner all the way up to the advanced guys. So this quad has pretty much all the bells and whistles that you need for being able to start your beginner progression and go all the way up through your more advanced maneuvers. Somebody that's really advanced pilot would love this quad, and then somebody that's just starting would love it. Either way, 1S, 2S, durability, great tune, great motors on here, ESC, all in one board. It's going to be easy to work on. 4 bolts on the top plate, and it just flies amazing. So I have to say a really high rating on this one of around 4.9 stars out of 5. The only point I'm taking off in this entire review is the 25 milliwatt. Yeah, we all wish it had 200 on here, but man, it flies so good. I got to give it 2 thumbs up to the Emax team. This thing is incredible. So pick one up for around $100 and you will absolutely love it. If you don't like it, let me have yours. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one.